Okay, in this video we are going to test our register node endpoint. So you should have all 5 of our network nodes running inside of your terminal. And if you do not, take a minute to set that up right now. So what we're going to do is we are going to test this register node endpoint by using Postman. So let's head over to Postman. And we want to hit this route right here. To start with, we're going to hit localhost 3001 at the register node endpoint. And when we hit this endpoint, we are expected to send in a new node URL as data on our rec body. So let's set that up now. So in the body tab, we want to have raw selected and JSON selected as the text. We will make an object and we will say new node URL. And let's say that we want to register our node that is running on port 3002 with our node that's running on 3001. So just to make it easier, let's copy this text right here and we'll paste it in here as our new node URL, and we'll just switch this 1 to 2. So now what we're doing is we are registering our node that's running on localhost 3002 with our node that's running on localhost 3001. So when we hit this endpoint, our localhost 3002 URL should show up in our network nodes array of our first node, because this register node endpoint registers a node by placing it into our network nodes array. So let's try this now. So we will send this request. Cool. And we get the response, new node registered successfully. So if we go back over to our browser and we hit localhost 3001/blockchain, we just registered our second node with our node on 3001. So we should have our second node's URL inside of this array now. Let's see. Great. We have our second node's URL registered with our first node. Cool. Let's register another node. This time, we will still hit our node that's running on 3001, but we will register our third node this time. And our third node is running on localhost 3003. And let's send that. Cool. It looks like it worked. So let's come over here and refresh. Cool. So localhost 3003 has now been added to our network nodes. Now, one thing that I want to point out is that if we go to localhost 3002 and get this blockchain, we can see that it has no network nodes registered. And if we go to localhost 3003, it also has no network nodes registered. Ideally, what we want to happen is that when we register a new node, we want it to reverse register as well. So if we register localhost 3002 with the node on 3001, then our node on 3002 should register localhost 3001. That way, both of these nodes will be aware of each other. And believe it or not, we have actually already built out this functionality inside of our register and broadcast node endpoint. So once we finish all 3 of these endpoints, this functionality will work properly. Cool. Let's do one more test of this endpoint. So we'll head over to Postman. So instead of registering a node with localhost 3001, Let's register a new node with localhost 3005 this time. And let's register our second node with 3005. And let's send this. Now let's head over to the browser. And on our fifth node, we should now have localhost 3002 registered in our network nodes. Let's see. Cool. Perfect. So our register node endpoint is working just as it should. In the next video, we will build out our register nodes bulk endpoint. I'll see you there.